Halo Infinite. Honestly, I had been concerned for quite some time. And not just because of the graphics, because gameplay is what matters the most. I even had some gameplay concerns over what the Halo Infinite campaign would actually look like. You know, we're in this world where we've all seen so many Ubisoft open worlds that we just kind of get sometimes a bit tired of the notion of an open world. However, well, 343 Industries have re-revealed the campaign for Halo Infinite, and I've got to say, as somebody who is skeptical of open worlds generally, and who is a lifelong fan of the Halo franchise, I am very much looking forward to things, and they have done a pretty damn good job of entirely reversing sentiment. In fact, I think they've done this to the degree where they have taken what was a big whoopsie at the start, and they're even risking turning this into some sort of underdog comeback story. Which is a bit weird because it's Microsoft and they are hardly an underdog. But to get into this, the re-reveal has happened. As of the time recording, it came out yesterday. And you know what? I thought the trailer was basically brilliant. I really liked how they essentially, and you know, maybe they didn't plan to do this initially, but they properly engaged with a bunch of things that us Halo people have been thinking about for quite some time. I mean, especially with Halo Infinite, one of the concerns that I had was that, well, hey, you did all of that stuff in Halo 4 with its plot, and then Halo 5 kind of yanked it off in another direction, and now it looks like Halo Infinite, what is it doing? Well, throughout this, they've basically managed to explain the role of Cortana, the role of your new AI, who bears a striking resemblance to Cortana, also this trailer, narrated by Cortana, but also bring in some of the Forerunner stuff. So it actually seems like what they're trying to do here is to narratively bring together and make sense Halo 4 and 5, which is very much something they needed to do. Additionally, it made it very clear who the main character of this is, and it's not Spartan Locke, whoever he was. They really did decide that Spartan Locke was just the coolest cucumber. Of course, in a way where you needed to watch a Scott-Free Productions, that's Ridley Scott's production company, Halo TV show. I think it was called Halo Nightfall or something, and honestly, it was a bit naff. Very odd. And these are a lot of the feelings that Halo people have had, especially regarding the campaign and narrative experience, and why there have been a lot of skepticism over 343. So what they've really tried to do in this trailer is they've identified some of the worries that we've had. They've went straight for those worries. And then on the topic of the gameplay worries, well, I think they've actually done a pretty good job of trying to sell us on this idea of a more open world Halo in a way where I think it does look like it's using what's really good about Halo. So that's my thoughts initially of the trailer as a lifelong Halo guy. You're not a Halo guy, so what do you think?
Yeah, I think in terms of my history with Halo, I played a little bit of Halo 2 at a friend's house my cousin's house many years ago, and then basically never touched it since. I've just not been on that side of the fence. And I was watching this going, okay, well, I know Halo feels good. Everyone in the world has said that Halo feels good in the way that, you know, good shooters do, at least the older Halos. And then I've seen the multiplayer impressions where everyone's like, this is Halo, it's back in a way we all expect of Halo's gameplay. And then I watched it like, okay, I don't really care about the narrative specifically, but I can feel there's something going on that I might want to catch up with. Whatever, maybe I don't need to. I kind of like the ideas that are on display. But then the whole trailer was just, hey, here's a nice voiceover over what looked like fantastic segments of gameplay. And I like, obviously they weren't going to target people who don't know anything about Halo. That would be silly. But the entire time I was just like, that looks fun. That looks fun. That looks fun. That looks very fun. Okay. Because from my perspective, I would only play it for gameplay initially. I was also worried about the open world stuff. And I immediately, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, not another one. We already have enough open world shooters. We have enough go tick the boxes off the map. And then the way I looked at it, I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a Just Cause-esque sandbox in how much freedom you have, but all of the actual gameplay elements look cool. Because it was like the variety of enemies, the variety of weapons, the variety of vehicles, some of the movement that I saw, I was just like, oh no, this actually literally just looks fun.
So what Halo had always done well is having a really good combat sandbox. And Halo 4 especially had some issues because it was late in a console gen. They couldn't really have as many actors on screen. They had to pare down some of or basically what Halo was known for was big Halo levels, where the combat sandbox would really shine. So I think a large map for a Halo can actually work very well for the combat sandbox. A lot of this will depend on the pacing of the narrative, right? So, like, I'm happy with it being a longer overall Halo experience, with the open world stuff being a little part of that, but I very much don't want it to feel like we get little smatterings of narrative and then it's bulked out. So if they can still deliver a very good core narrative, they can still have all of the set pieces, and the more open aspects truly do just feel additive and in line with the Halo sandbox, then basically we would be in a very good situation. Now, there are some interesting things. It's like what they did with Cortana in Halo 5, maybe not the most popular narrative move that they've ever made. And it sort of then looks like they've made young Cortana as your new AI to sort of help you. This is this AI called the Weapon, who, seems quite friendly. Looks like a young Cortana. You kind of have to wonder what's going on there. There's a bit of me that just sort of thinks, have they realized, shit, maybe we shouldn't have taken Halo 5 in that way? Maybe, oh dear, okay. Cortana still has to be a villain somehow, but here's new Cortana. So there's a way where they can pull that off where it's really good. Also, from a meta angle, you can just sort of see them sort of grappling with the past two narratives of their sort of trilogy of Halos, and just kind of thinking, it seems like this is doing everything right, but maybe it's a pity that it has some of the baggage of the more mixed experiences that preceded it.
Yeah, so from someone who doesn't understand much about the Halo the narrative or anything like that, all I know is Cortana went bad, and people weren't too happy about that because of weirdness. But it was always, as they say in the trailer, it was always about Master Chief and Cortana going and doing stuff. So now you've got Master Chief and not Cortana going to stop Cortana or go figure out something that doesn't seem quite clear-cut. So it feels like they just have a lot of room to work with that will actually have Halo players go, you know what, yeah, I see you're making up for the past, but if you make up for the past in a way that's interesting. It was one of those things where it's hard to put a finger exactly on it, but the way they spoke about it all, I was like, okay, I actually see that this has a lot of fun narrative themes they can work with. Yeah, that actually is part of why I'm interested in it from an outsider's perspective, as well as also the gameplay looking kind of sweet.
Like, the one thing they got right recently was like Chief in 4 and 5. It's like they got him right, but maybe they didn't do the best job of everything else surrounding that. So I think it could be good narratively. We'll just have to see where it basically leaves the franchise. And indeed, this is called Halo Infinite. Well, is the next Halo narrative going to be a part of the Halo Infinite experience? Or is it going to be like a Halo Infinite 2 or Halo Beyond? Like, how are they going to do that? How are they going to handle the future of the franchise? A lot of thoughts there. But to move on then, this has been a humongous success for Microsoft, right? I mean, like to dislike ratio, pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Of course, with the initial reveal, people didn't really know how to process the gameplay that they were seeing. Indeed, it certainly helps that the multiplayer reveal has sold everybody in this game's gameplay. Yep. So that's very helpful. Of course, the graphics. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that was down to the lighting, really not making good use of the assets that were there. But now it's like people's concerns have been allayed. People know that the multiplayer is going to be really good. It just seems like this reveal has absolutely done its job. And there's also a few things that I noticed, like, for Craig's back, but they did so many melee attacks against enemies. It's like they were, okay, now we're going to do... We know. So I thought that was like cute, but also smart sort of thing. Does this look like the most, incredible, triple, quadruple A game ever? No, it doesn't. But the visuals, I think, are crisp. They are clean. They look very good for gameplay. That's exactly what I want from a Halo. So visual presentation, I'm very happy with. Like with Halo, it was never really about it having the best assets or anything like that. It was generally about like good tone, good art direction. So as long as they nail that, have some nice big Halo skyboxes, I think they will do just fine. So that's all basically going brilliantly. Now then, I mean, overall, the Halo Infinite story has just completely changed. The campaign overview, universally positive feedback. The multiplayer overview, universally positive feedback. Impressions, from the test flight, I would say universally positive. There's one or two funny things with like bugs and stuff, but I was expected because it was a test. But other than that, it's just done absolutely fantastic. Also some fun little, engagement stats on YouTube. Hidden Xperia doubled his average views on a breakdown video. And it's the sort of thing, long-time Halo creator notices an uptick, that shows appetite. Now, of course, while we don't make Halo videos, and actually Halo usually does terribly in this channel, the one game that we do really know is World of Warcraft. And, for us, there's a degree of how well the video will do that kind of depends on us. And then there's a bit that is the market to which this video is released. And that second bit really does matter quite a bit. As an example right now, we release a video, World of Warcraft's in a downtrend, we just expect 40% less views, 45% less views. That just is how it is. Now, conversely, on our Final Fantasy XIV content, we're making that content and we just we see it outperform WoW, even though that's a channel that's tiny in comparison to the WoW channel. And a lot of this is just down to the overall just the overall sort of consumer market that these, that this content goes out for. Basically, what the YouTube algorithm does is it matches content to appetite. And your videos will do incredibly well if the appetite is there. And the YouTube algorithm is really, really good at identifying where that appetite is and matchmaking content. Not based on the content, but based on viewer behaviors and what viewers are likely to do. It's the thing that people really misunderstand the most. YouTube is almost entirely viewer-driven, not channel-driven. So these things really do matter, basically. It's just a massive indicator. And certainly it's an indicator that we're very familiar with, so we can very much rubber stamp that one for you and tell you that it is important.
There was one other thing I saw that I think, I don't know if it's worth putting a lot of stock into it, but I think it was Dr. Disrespect had what I think was a largely negative take on the campaign trailer, and one of the clip videos of that got downvoted into oblivion. So it's a kind of thing where people are happy enough with this campaign with this campaign overview in the trailer so far, like the overall narrative of it. If you go against that trend, you're going to be going against the wave. You'll be going against the pack.
Like Quinn in Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, exactly.
Or who was it? No, it wasn't. Who was the one who didn't understand how fountains work?
Oh, Soda Poppin'.
Soda Poppin', yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah, so there's a little bit of extra news just worth covering. There are some online services for older Halo titles that are closing. Now, this plan had actually been sort of out for a while. Began in 2019. Basically, Phase 1 was a migration of 6 million bits of Halo 3 legacy user-generated content over to Master Chief Collection. Then Phase 2 was the initial notification to players, digital sales being halted on the old consoles, and the 360 DLC being free. Then Phase 3, which is just continued messaging and reminders throughout the year across Halo channels. And then January 13th, 2022, Halo Xbox 360 legacy servers being turned off. Which of course will mean that Halo Master Chief Collection is where all of that will live. And in fairness to them, they have actually put in a lot of work to make the Master Chief Collection a good overall experience.
Yeah, it's a fun thing where there's a lot of cases where we would look at a story like this and be largely negative on it, because you're like, well, are the costs really going to, are they going to be are you going to be removing this game from playability, largely speaking? And they're just like, nah, you can play them offline, which is fine. I'm fairly sure, did 360 have LAN support for that stuff? Or not, I can't remember.
Forget.
But,
No, I think it did, but I forget.
Well, either way, if it did, that's, there you go. It's playable offline, and Master Chief Collection is what I think a lot of people are now happy with as a recreation.
Yes.
So, in any other version of the story would be, old servers are going offline, they haven't done what they needed to make it playable, you've just removed a bit of digital content from sale, and this isn't the story here. They're just going, yeah, this is going to remove cost, but you can play it anyway.
Yeah, so they've put the work in. As for the whole thing of, surely it couldn't take that much of your time to do that. Remember, opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is more important than cost. If you have the sort of engineers going to get into a company like 343, where are you going to allocate that engineer? And is it worth, hiring somebody to just more specifically deal with the old stuff? Probably not. And a new hire that would be dealing with that older stuff could be better allocated to newer stuff. So if you're trying to think about the reasons why, it's not just dollar cost to a big company like this, it is opportunity cost and what you could be doing with those people. And I would say as well, just additionally, like attracting talent. I don't think that, this is going to be of like the most interest, to people. They want to be working on something that's like new and cool. Yeah. And, this is old and cool, but, old. It's not the sort of thing where you're going to build your CV massively.
Yeah.
On that older content.
You can just say like, hello, would you like to work on extreme legacy code that is going to be used by very, very few people? Also will be a nightmare, has limited documentation, and everyone who made it has now since left the company. Does that sound intriguing to you? Apply now. Not exactly going to fly.
Yeah, precisely. So basically, there you go. Overall, Halo Infinite, I'm very excited. I can't wait.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Yep. So
I hope.
Yeah, and here's the fun thing from my perspective. I generally wouldn't care, but I subbed to Game Pass, which means in December I'll be busy playing Endwalker, but I will just be able to go and play a couple rounds of Halo Infinite multiplayer or go through the first couple missions of the campaign and see if it feels good.
But what about patch 7.1 or 9.1.5 of World of Warcraft, man?
No.
Oh no. Uh-oh. Yep. On that humongo surprise, thanks for watching. Set sail for Halo Infinite, and we'll see you next time.